everybody, and welcome to the first video podcast of 2021, audio and video combined, of course, for the Nightfly podcast. We've got a great show for you tonight. My special guest, Wendy Liebman, is joining us. She is terrific, and it all starts right now. Well, I will tell you that this is a spectacular show. I mean, listen, if you like this show, you know I've been talking about Wendy Liebman for quite a long time. I think she's just absolutely terrific. I give her the same Amy Heckerling-like treatment in the sense where I'm like, just not enough people are giving her the love, the respect that she deserves. She's amazing. She's unbelievably quick. Her writing is impeccable. And she's just a really nice, kind person. And I like her very much. And we're, just becoming friendly. And I'm just so glad she was kind enough to sit with me today and talk for a bit. And I really think you're going to enjoy the interview. Why wouldn't you? She's a delight. I'm obviously a delight. Yeah. Anyway. So let's get into it right now, ladies and gentlemen. The Nightfly, the Wendy Liebman Show.
Our next guest is a very funny woman. She'll be performing right down the street at a place called Caroline's, right here on Broadway, Thursday through Sunday. Please welcome back to the show, Wendy Liebman. Wendy, come on out.
Well, anyway, yes, Wendy Liebman, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you coming on. I'm very excited about this. I even told my mother how excited I was today. Well, you are one of my comedy heroes. You're very modest. I don't think you understand how many people think the same way I do. I know we're around the same age, but you had, when I was first starting out, you were already on the top of your game. So a lot of us that were all starting out at the beginning, me and Attell and Sarah, I guess, and even Kevin Brennan, I probably shouldn't have mentioned him, but all these people were just in awe of you because first of all, you were never a New York comic. It's weird because you're from Long Island, right?
I'm from Roslyn. Thank you so much for having me, Dave. I'm from Long Island, but then I moved to Boston. I went to college in Boston, and then I just stayed there. And while I was figuring out what I wanted to be doing with my time, I started doing stand-up in Boston. So no, I have rarely performed in New York. Governors on Long Island has booked me a lot, and then I performed at like Comics when they were
right on 14th
still
Street.
Going in the Meat District, and I've done each of the clubs except yours. I might have been on stage in the 80s there for a few minutes at the end of a show once, like at 2:30.
Well, it's fascinating though that we all never really knew you, because I feel like I know almost everybody at this point. But yeah, you were never a New York person. You were already just set on your own. We were always fascinated by, never hearing about you or seeing, or there was never any information on you of how you worked it out, of how you made it, And I guess there was a bunch of people that came from Boston and came to New York, but you went right to LA.
Well, it was a question of should I move to LA or New York? And my parents live in New York, so I picked LA.
Smart move. You know what I was going to tell you about Roslyn when you were telling me that you have a, what do you say, an organizational disorder? Like you need to have everything filed, put together correctly, right? Organized. It's an OCD, right?
Not diagnosed, and you would laugh if you saw my house.
And I'm
that
dying
I
to
say
see it.
that I'm organized.
Well, I'm saying you need everything in its place. And the weird part is that my other only friend from Roslyn, who I believe lived on Woods Lane, or was that, I think that, yeah. I don't know if you're familiar with it. And I used to go visit him in the 80s, was exactly that way, where I mean, he might have been worse because I would test him and I would move something in his room and I would tell him I moved something and you have to figure out what it is. And he would be like, oh my God, it's obviously this. And I'm like, no, it's not that. And he goes, well, obviously it's this. And then when he would be like, well, I'm going to find out what it was, while he was talking, he'd fix the thing I moved without even noticing that he was doing it. So he definitely knew the order of the room.
So you were kind of enabling him, or I don't know.
Pretty much.
So
maybe it's a
So
Roslyn
you're
thing.
saying that it's a rot, like it was in the water.
I'm putting it out there.
You know what? That could be true, because everybody I've ever met from Scarsdale, New York, is batshit fucking crazy. Can I swear?
Of course. Do you include the Clintons on that? Well, they're not really from there. They're not from
They
there.
live there now. They don't live in Scarsdale. They live in Chappaqua.
Oh, right. That's right next door to Scarsdale, right?
Is it? I don't
think
know.
so.
But, people from Scarsdale, I've only met a few. And they're brilliant. Too. That's the other thing. It's like this vortex of genius and
you got to be smart to live there.
Crazy.
Yeah. It's a very wealthy town. But yeah, so I'm always interested that you started out in Boston. Like I said, I knew a lot of people that came. There was a little migration in the 90s from people who came from Boston who were doing really well and then came down to the city. But it was smart to move to LA. And again, I was just, but it's funny. You just said like, yeah, I thought I'd do stand up. It was never your plan.
I guess I always felt like a performer because growing up, I was always in the plays. Is this interesting at all?
Well, it is to me because I was the same way.
I was like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, and that was at Camp Tri-Woody. My parents actually sent me to a camp called Tri-Woody.
Well, you're Jewish. We go to camp.
Well, but
Catholic
this was
people
like
don't
a
understand.
multicultural. It was not a Jewish camp.
Oh, it wasn't?
No. It was in Hyde Park, New York, Poughkeepsie, and now it's a convent. But but it's where I started like doing musical theater, and then in high school I was Eliza in My Fair Lady, and I was also in Death of a Salesman. I was prostitute number 2.
Well, that's the way I always figure it starts to do stand up, because that's the way it happened for me. But as it turned out, most of the comics I've met were not musical theater people. They just wanted to be comics, which is why I think I didn't really excel at comedy. I wasn't really my cup of tea. I just did it because it, funny, I guess. And then once I met all the people, it was a wonderful social aspect to it, but, I sing and I like to dance, and I, from the old school of where you needed to know everything if you wanted to be in that profession. And then when I met all these comics, they're like, we didn't learn how to sing or dance. And I'm like, well, how can that be? Well,
So
how about a snap routine?
You're like vaudeville.
Old school. Yeah, no, that is what I wanted to do. That's why I always want to do a variety show. That's why I changed the show that you were on, the Comedy Cellar show. I changed it now where we don't talk about football because football season's over. So now it's just a regular variety show. I always have a musician play. I'm trying to get some sketches in. That's what I like to do.
Do you bet on some of the acts? Or is it still a gambling?
Sure. No, but I could make it that. I do have a gambling problem, but
I heard you say that on the other show.
Yeah.
Do you really?
Oh, yes. For years, I used to have to work off the money. When I worked for these bookies before the internet, where I used to work with them, I used to bet with them, and this was, the bad kind that you see in the movies. And instead of beating me up, they made me work for them. They liked me. So they're like, well, if he has a broken leg, he can't work. So they made me work for them, and I used to answer phones and collect money for them, which was really weird. Go collecting for them, but which was scary. But it wasn't that, because they knew who I was with. So they were like, "Well, I don't have the money." I'm like, "Well, I'll tell them." And they're like, "Well, oh, no, wait a minute." Like,
Did
so
you do 5 minutes for each? Did you
for all the people I was
do
collecting
stand
from?
up? Yeah.
No, they didn't care for that.
Oh.
I mean, they were all fascinated that I was doing stand up, but if you're collecting from people, they're not in the mood for any kind of comedy whatsoever. The guys I worked for.
Wow. So you're like the real deal.
I guess if you can call that ruining your entire life the real deal.
Well, I get it, because I won in Vegas once on a slot machine. I won $10,000.
For real?
For real. And like that.
Oh,
do you know how many quarters that is?
No. But no, you do pick up a bug, because you think you can do it every time. I know how the system works now.
Yeah.
Gets into your head.
Well, it wasn't even that I know how the system works. It was more like it can work.
Were you performing there? Is that why you were there?
Yeah. And I've performed in Vegas, Tahoe, Reno, all the places that have slot machines.
Yeah.
And it's dangerous. And like, I don't play craps or anything, because what was your game?
Well, it was just blackjack like anybody else. But then I went through periods. Now I'm all about 3-card poker, because I really feel you can win on 3-card poker on a daily basis.
3-card poker, isn't that that's like microwave poker?
Yeah, well,
like it's so fast.
It's stupid. It's just lucky. Oh, no. It's not fast. It's stupid. It's people that actually play poker would hate it. It's really luck of the draw. It's silly, but for some reason I like it. And when I was opening for Sarah Silverman over last summer, we were performing in Atlantic City, and my absolute plan was to take what I made from that show and bet it all, on 3-card poker and double my winnings. And it worked, which was the worst thing that could happen to me.
Right.
I'm good with the casino gambling. I'm good at it. I don't have a problem with that. But it's the sports gambling that seems to be an issue.
So do you have to go to a 12-step program?
No, I won't go, because it's all like gross guys. There's no hot girls there. So I'd prefer to go like an Alcoholics Anonymous. Then that's why I won't go. It's disgusting guys.
Well, I had a problem, and I didn't want to go to the 12-step because I didn't want to be around people like me. So I went to a different 12-step. And this happened there.
Oh, wait, I assume this was going to be a joke, but it's not. Did you really have a
drinking
problem?
I didn't have a drinking problem, though. So, no, but I didn't. Okay, so I'm at the wrong meeting, and because for not my problem. I went to
so you're not going to tell us what the problem is. It's okay.
So,
I don't want you to be uncomfortable.
I heard some people talking about me, before the meeting started, and somebody said, Wendy Liebman's in this meeting. And I said, excuse me, I thought this was supposed to be anonymous. And they were all conciliatory, and this is my last name and whatever. And I realized I was so pissed that they were talking about me, but I was so glad that somebody knew who I was. And I realized that it wasn't me that I wanted to be anonymous. I wanted my problem to be anonymous.
Okay, I understand. I'm sorry I brought it up, but
no, it's okay. No,
that is interesting. I remember I went to one AA meeting with a friend to see what it was like, and he now runs a rehab center in Pasadena. And I went with him, and there were a bunch of comics that I knew there that I didn't know had a problem. So then I felt horrible kind of infiltrating the meeting, because I had this secret, and I just told them I had a problem because I felt awful saying, I'm just here to observe, because, well, everybody that has a problem says that. But yeah, it was really uncomfortable, and I understand what you're talking about.
You can cut that part out of the podcast if you want.
Which part?
I feel like I was boring.
Oh, no. And if there's anything you do want me to cut out, I will. But
just
no.
my face. Cut out my face. Can you?
No. You're gorgeous. And the thing is that spit take. The thing is,
thank you.
Well, that's why. And again, this is why. All right. There's a lot of things I need to discuss with you. I mean, first of all, I mean, you were on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. I mean, that is the greatest gift ever that, you can almost retire on those laurels at this point. Not back then, you don't realize, but it's like, well, you realize, but I mean, how exciting is that, right?
Well, it feels like this is my life right now with Dave.
Oh, well, that's what it's going to be pretty much. It's pretty much me praising you, kissing your ass a little bit, and then having a couple of questions. This is what I do. This is my interviews.
Okay.
It's basically just, I like to bring out the people I like and be like, man, you're so awesome. So, but yeah, I would say the only time that, there would be a problem with your looks was that haircut on the Tonight Show. I have a problem with girls with that kind of haircut. I like the longer hair. I appreciate it as a person who can't grow longer hair. That is why I like it so much.
I know it was the 90s. Like 5 women in the world who look great with short hair. And there are probably like the equal number of guys who look great with long hair.
Good point.
But I don't know why I had short hair, except that I tended to like not want to be feminine looking. I guess.
Really?
I guess.
Well, no, that does make a lot of sense. I know.
Like I kind of wanted to.
Hey, you were a female comic in an all-male world. It wasn't like it is now. That somebody like Sarah kind of almost pioneered where an attractive woman could, perform on stage and not get shit on. And yes, of course, that's what. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually, that you were trying to be like that. I know. I have a friend right now who likes to dress down, and I'm like, why do you do that? And she's like, oh, so people take me seriously, because she's very pretty. And so there's still that issue. But remember, when you were doing it, I mean, it was a thing. There was the credo that pretty girls are not funny. And that's why I think I'm a little fascinated with you, and why, for my money, I feel like you should have had a Seinfeld-like show. You were that popular. And I think everybody was confused exactly. It feels like you just left the business, and and we weren't fulfilled by the way your trajectory should be.
I love you so much for saying all that. Look at my hair now.
I love it. No, I do. I love it when it's long. And that's why it's funny when you see if you go on, if my people listen, go to, you could watch the Carson show with the short hair, and then the Letterman show, you're wearing the nice long hair again. It makes me so happy. But
you're hypnotizing me with those eyebrows.
Oh, I know. It's just because I have no hair here that they're just completely prominent. But at least I always have my barber, make it so doesn't look like Martin Scorsese or anything. But,
oh yeah, I see that.
But I hate them. They drive me crazy because I stare at them myself. They just look so prominent on video, but
this
regularly.
Is such a weird world. Like we're always looking at ourselves now.
I got my hair done for that, and stuff. I mean, and it's still horrible.
Wait, hold on.
And I've had lots of plastic surgery too. I mean, when I was young.
I have like some gray hair. Hold on. What do you mean you had plastic surgery when you were younger?
Oh yeah, I had my nose done and my chin and stuff like that. Like, my family's all about plastic surgery. I've said on this show, on this podcast, that even during a pandemic for the Just Gals, there's always money for a cleaning lady and plastic surgery. It doesn't matter how poor we are. That is our credo. My sister just got work yesterday. I just picked her up at the doctor.
Really?
Yeah.
I will not get plastic surgery, but I have been thinking about getting some artificial intelligence.
Good idea.
Wait, I do want plastic surgery though. because I have like some filter on my Zoom so that you can't see all of the wrinkles. But
you look kind of terrific, but I would never tell anybody not to do it if you.
I look kind of what?
Oh, no, I'm saying you look terrific. I'm saying I would never tell anybody not to get it if that's what they feel is going to make them, feel better about themselves. How could I ever tell somebody not to do what they want to do? I'll always say, I don't think you need it, but you're going to be like, well, it'll make me feel better about myself. So I'm the person you would like to talk to about it if you want to get it, because, I'm never going to tell you not to. I don't think you need it, but it's not for me to say since
well,
I get
now
it
now
myself.
I have a friend who will tell me the truth.
Yeah. I will definitely tell you that. But wait, here's the thing that I want to talk about. First of all, also, I know, you don't have any gigs coming up, right? Everybody's canceled, right? There's nothing we can plug.
I'm doing one Zoom show on March 24th or 25th. It's for a Long Island domestic violence and abuse center called the Safe Center. And I have Ray Romano's going to make a statement.
I don't know who that is.
Monica Piper is headlining, and I've done gigs for them many times because my mom is involved. So yeah, it's a great organization called the Safe Center on Long Island, but it's going to be on Zoom. By the way, you keep bringing up Sarah Silverman. I love Sarah Silverman.
Yeah, you meant, I'm sorry. Everybody keeps saying I keep name dropping, but she's like my best friend. So it's like I also talk about my friend Lee Maracus, and nobody ever says that I keep dropping his name. So I know it's awful. And so, but here's the thing also I wanted to say, and I will name drop this last time. I had Amy Heckerling on the podcast about 3 weeks ago. Because again, one of my heroes, here's a woman. It was making me angry. Did you see the latest Wonder Woman?
No, but it's from 1984.
Well, that's the gag. It's like called Wonder Woman 84. It takes place in 84, but there's no good 80s gags. So it's awful. It's really bad. I'm very disappointed. I was really looking forward to it. But they were always talking about Patty Jenkins and like, wow, it's wonderful that a woman was directing a movie and an action film and all that stuff. And I always say, how come Amy Heckerling is never talked about? It was bothering me. I'm like, this is a woman that directed a movie in 1981. For Fast Times at Ridgemont High, let's praise that. Here's a pioneer.
Clueless.
Clueless is my favorite movie of all time. So we had a lot to talk about, which is odd for a straight man.
That's so cool.
So it was great. But then I was talking on my podcast about you as well, and how much, you were interesting to me in a way, and how you weren't getting your due. I'm going to tell you this story right now.
Who are you?
I'm going to tell you a story that relates to you in a roundabout way, because I'm, I've always been fascinated with you. I mean, first of all, you're one of the greatest writers I've ever seen in my time. I mean, you're like a tell. It's like it's amazing, your writing skills, and let alone the fact that you have had and have this, you have an act. It was like amazing. It's like nobody has that anymore. I mean, just what you were doing, the misdirection and the what you were giving off. It was like really, really. You're a great stand-up comedian. And there's just I really don't love stand-up comics, but I just was always drawn to your stand-up. It was always so good. In fact, when I was watching the Tonight Show, I was laughing so hard at the opening joke, which, of course, nobody would get anymore. The Ruth Buzzy joke. I did not see that coming.
I know.
Thank you, Doctor. Okay, when my next guest, this young lady was a finalist in the Johnny Walker National Comedy Search at the improvisation clubs throughout the country. This is her very first appearance on network television. And Wendy's going to be performing in Boston, her hometown, at Stitches, May 15th through the 18th. Would you welcome, please, Wendy Liebman. Wendy?
Hi. It's great to be here. I'm in a great mood because when I walked in, some guy thought I was Ruth Buzzy. And I don't know who she is. She pretty?
Well, that's my entire podcast is based on stuff like that. That's like pretty much people my age, and we just talk about the $6 Million Man and Ruth Buzzy, But so anyway, there was a show on Broadway called Dear Evan Hanson, and I mean it's still on. I don't know if you know anything about Broadway. I'm a Broadway guy, and it's this amazing show that just was out this past year, and now everything's closed, and it's with this guy called Ben Platt. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's an amazing actor. And
he's not in it anymore.
No, that's what I'm going to talk to you about.
Oh, okay.
Is that see, we were in a Soul Cycle class together, me and him and Caroline Ray. We're all in the Soul Cycle class in the Upper West Side, and I don't know Ben Platt. And the instructor, who I did know, who used to work at Catch a Rising Star, ironically, many years ago, her
What
boyfriend,
a small world.
right? So her boyfriend's this big tough guy with tattoos and everything, a big New York accent, and he's pointing out Ben Platt. He's putting on his shoes. I didn't know who he was, and he goes, "You see that motherfucker right over? You see that fucking guy?" And I thought he's gonna, make fun of him being gay or something like that, the way he was talking. And he goes, "You see that motherfucker? That motherfucker is the best actor I've ever fucking seen in my life." I did not see it going that direction. And when a guy like that, with that attitude and that accent, says that this guy's the best actor he's ever seen, I'm like, all right, I got to see this show. Let alone I had a couple other friends like, you got to see this performance. And I got the tickets, because it was a word of mouth show. And when I saw this guy, it was the greatest performance by a male actor I've ever seen in my life.
And he won the Tony.
And he won the Tony. And I'm such a theater nerd. I was like sitting there, like, if he doesn't win, and I've been that way with some of the other actors like Christine Ebersol and Grey Gardens and the girl from Next to Normal, Alice Ripley. Like, I'm like, if they don't win, I'm going to die, because I'm like, they're so good. So when he left, they replaced him, obviously. And I actually went to this thing that they just made for a couple of people where they were showing the replacements. There were like 3 people replacing him. And I was sitting in the audience, and I'm watching this one guy, and none of them are as good as Ben Platt. One guy can't sing as well as him, and the other guy can't act as well. But this one guy is just so effeminate, and he's trying to tell this girl that he loves her. I'm looking around, and I'm like, am I the only one that's seeing that this is awful? That this guy can't act not gay? Ben Platt is gay. And I still bought that he liked this girl. I was not buying it for a minute with this guy, and I'm looking around. I'm like, I'm the only one, and this exact same scenario happened to me when I was watching the first time I ever saw Amy Schumer perform. And yes, I'm going there, and I'm sitting there with my friend Rachel, and I'm like, am I the only one that's noticing that she's doing Wendy Liebman's act, not word for word, not the jokes, although we found that maybe there was 1 or 2, but the cadence. And I'm looking around. I'm like, am I the only one here that notices this? And I was talking to my friend Rachel, sitting right next to her, and she goes, "Yeah, I know." Like she was the only one that knew. And like, how can this be happening that nobody's calling around? And then I guess maybe it was a few years later, you finally did come out and say something. And it made me so happy, because I knew I wasn't crazy. She was doing I don't know, would we call it misdirection? Is that what you would call the kind of ways you do things? And I'm sorry if you don't want to talk about it. I totally understand. I don't know what, I'm sure it's a sore subject, but I had to bring it up because I'm fascinated by it.
So I bought tickets to see Dear Evan Hanson. I really did buy tickets to. I'm gonna answer your question, but it's gonna be a roundabout.
I just did the most roundabout thing anybody could do.
So I had tickets in like November. I bought tickets in November in like March. And then this was 2 years ago. And then in November, I got hit by a car.
Oh.
And this is 2 years ago. And I had 1 broken leg and 2 broken feet. And the day I got home from the hospital was the day I was supposed to go see Dear Evan Hanson. So I told my husband, you better go. These tickets were fucking expensive.
Are you talking about in LA?
Yeah.
With Ben Platt?
No, it was with the other Ben.
Oh, go on. It's not as good. Go on.
But
see, if Ben Platt was in, I would say drag yourself from the hospital. But go on.
So I'm at home that night, and he's at the play with my stepson and his girlfriend. And on Jeopardy, the final Jeopardy question was, what won the 2017 Tony? I think it was 17 Tony for Best Musical, blah, blah, blah. And the answer was Dear Evan Hanson. And I was like, fuck. And my husband, who's very critical, he loved Dear Evan Hanson so much. He said it was...
And he didn't even get to see it with the top guy. And he still loved the play. It's a good play. When you see it with Ben Platt, it makes it that much special, more special.
Yes, I've heard that. Although Jeff said this guy was great. Have you seen it with the other Ben?
No, I haven't seen it with another Ben. I told you I saw it with a guy that was so subpar. It was, I just couldn't stand it anymore. It was just, I think once you've seen it with Ben Platt, it's all disappointing. That's the issue. If you haven't seen it without, if you don't see it with him, it's probably a better deal, to see it with somebody if you're not expecting anything.
My husband has gotten to see Josh Gad in
Book of Mormon.
Book of Mormon.
I saw him too. Yeah, I saw the original cast.
I got to see the original cast of Chorus Line.
Me too. That's how this all started. Oh, you saw the original cast of Pippin with William Catt?
Oh, I saw it with Ben Vereen.
Oh, yeah, right. It was the guy from The Greatest American Hero. He originated the role, I believe.
I don't know that. I thought it was the guy who was on Family.
No, Willie Ames? No, that's 8 is enough. I know who you're... No, I don't think so. I think it's William Catt.
Okay.
The guy from Carrie.
I don't know who that is. So anyway,
I thought
I saw the original.
Hair, the frizzy blonde hair.
Yeah.
Greatest American Hero. Remember he was in the dude and no?
And the original Chorus Line. So yeah. Was that Anne Rankin?
I don't know if she was in the original chorus. I mean, that's the thing about a chorus line. There were no Donna McKechnie was the original Cassie. And otherwise it was unknowns. That musical changed my life in a way. I remember my parents came back. This is how we got into theater. They were like, okay, we're taking you to see this show. It's unbelievable. We've just seen the show. And, after all those years, and I'm sure after seeing, crap like Oklahoma and stuff like that, seeing a chorus line was, wow, right? It was such a different, I remember going to my sister, she said the opening number. I go, now that's how you open a show. And I was like, 12, But the worst part was my parents came home and they're like, oh my God, David, there was a guy in there and he just reminded us of you. And we just looked at each other. We're like, that's David. And when I went to see the play, it was that really gay guy. He's like, I'm watching Cisco Pitter Pat. And I'm like, what? This guy? I was very upset about that. But then I'm like, well, I could see that the tap dancing part maybe. But
are you a tap dancer?
I was. Yeah, I used to take class. I was the only boy.
Did you see what?
I was the only boy in the class. Back then, it was not cool to be that way.
Did you see Every Little Step, the movie, the documentary about them redoing Chorus Line?
No. Wait, is that the one where they have the is Marvin Hamlish in it? Is where he has the tape recorder with the people? Or when
yeah.
Or are you talking about just where they're trying to bring it back to Broadway?
Well, it's the whole thing. Like
I don't know. I don't think I did. I can't remember whether I saw it or not. I remember there was a documentary on.
It was so meta because they were following the lives of these people auditioning.
In the 70s, you're talking about?
No.
You're talking about now? Okay, then no, I didn't. Okay.
But they also had clips from
they did,
Michael Bennett talking. And
yeah, because Marvin Hamlish had a tape recorder of all these people telling them, tell me about your life in the chorus.
It wasn't Marvin Hamlish. It was the director, I believe.
Michael Bennett, right.
Yeah, and he basically had people tell them their stories. And that's how they came up with the little vignettes for at the ballet.
I had a guy who did this guy Michael Riedel, who is the New York Post theater critic. He was on the show, and he wrote a book called Razzle Dazzle about, a chorus line and Broadway in general, how it got started, and up to a chorus line and Michael Bennett and how they put the show together. And then I was listening to Gilbert Gottfried's podcast, and he had Marsha Mason on, and apparently she was the one who told Michael Bennett that you have to have Cassie make the chorus, because at the beginning she wasn't going to make it. And he goes, but that's not real. And she goes, I don't give a shit what it is. It's a happy ending. And that's what I want to see. Because he was asking Neil Simon's advice, and she was with him, and she goes, you got to change that around. I can't stomach her not making it.
And they also had to change the name of Looks 10 Dance 3. It was originally Tits and Ass.
Oh, that makes sense.
So they changed it because I guess it wasn't getting a laugh, because people had already read the name of it.
Right, good point. Oh, that's interesting, though.
That was in the documentary.
That makes a lot of sense.
But
anyway,
that's a fabulous documentary.
Yeah, no, I'm totally going to check it out immediately.
So, my joke that I hated dating, and I'm old-fashioned. I like it when a man paid for sex. That joke was done almost verbatim by Amy Schumer on her HBO special. And so I just assumed somebody sold it to her. That was my assumption, because it was too close. She said something like, I'm old school. I like it when a man pays for sex. So,
but who alerted you to that, or did you see the special where you're sitting there with your mouth open?
A bunch of people told me about it, and then it wasn't for a couple of months. I didn't do anything because I wasn't planning on doing anything.
Right, because it's one joke. I mean, it's a bummer, but did you notice after you saw it that, I mean, and I don't know if in this special, because she figured it out, she doesn't do you as much as when I had seen her. And a lot of times that happens with people that you're emulating. She must have grown up on you, and, the way a lot of people emulate Attell, and then they figure it out, but were there people telling you, hey, this girl is pretty much doing your, not, okay, yes, this one joke, but she's doing your bit, your cadence?
I heard it, but I really just was flattered. And people could say the same thing about me taking Ellen's act.
No, they could not. Nice try. But so then I remember you did something about it, because you or some of your people or whatever, people who were kind to you, put it up on YouTube, and they put it side by side, and it was very clear. And this was my ultimate question, was that's when, not knowing you until recently, is that why you went on AGT to say, well, this was my theory, that you went on AGT to say, I am still around and I'm really good, and I don't like that this girl is doing my material or whatever. I mean, was that possibly the reason you decided to go on AGT at your level?
I went on AGT before that happened.
Oh.
But
it seemed
really
like it was the same time frame. That's why
it's really interesting that you brought it up. So.
Well, this is why I was really excited to have you on. I've been trying to figure this out for a long time. I'm obsessed.
I'm cracking myself. Okay. So before I got hit by a car.
I'm sorry to hear that too. You're better now though, right? It's like the whole thing never happened, or are you still?
It's not like the whole thing never happened.
You're still in pain a little bit.
It's all a little bit messed up, but I won my lawsuit. So, okay. So in 2013, I'm laughing, but it's not funny at all. My husband and I were hit by a drunk driver.
Wait, this is a different incident?
Yeah. The getting hit by a car, I was walking by myself. That was in 2018.
Is that when, after you get hit by the car, you just say, "What a week I'm having"? Jesus, you never should have moved out to LA.
I realized that when you ask the universe for a big break, you have to be really specific.
Right.
I guess all those years of people
Oh my God!
me
So
to
you got
break
hit
a
by a
leg.
drunk driver in 2013.
So we were hit by a drunk driver, and there were 7 cars totaled in that accident, including the guy who was driving. So it was right after that. I was sitting on the bus bench waiting for the cops, and I thought, I have to like get back out there and like restart my career, because I had been helping raise my stepsons. I have 2 amazing stepsons, and they I wanted to be home a lot with them. So it's not like I stopped doing stand-up ever, but
that is the reason. I mean, I had heard that you kind of wanted to raise a family, but you don't, people say that, but then sometimes it's because they maybe the career wasn't happening, but yours was. I mean, you left on top, at least in my brain.
Not really.
Well, that's what it seemed to all of us, just starting out, I guess.
But here's the thing, I didn't stop. It just stopped. So.
But you were taking time off. You weren't performing all the time.
Right. I didn't want to go on the road as much.
Right. But I always wonder, and it's really nice that you wanted, I mean, especially to raise stepsons, you just never hear that. I mean, that's amazing.
Well, they paid me a lot.
Your husband got very lucky in finding you. It's very rare. Don't you think?
Well, I just loved them so much. It's like I fell in love with him, and then I fell in love with the kids.
That's fantastic.
They were 4 and 8, I think. Yeah, no, they were 4 and 8. And they used to say things to me. I'm just going to do a joke right now. Okay. They used to say things to me like, I don't have to listen to you. You're not my mother, because they heard my husband saying that to me.
That's so good.
Mm.
I don't.
You're so nice.
Well, I don't know. Doesn't everybody find you as funny as I do? I think that's why maybe I'm getting confused. I don't know. I'm like, why isn't she more, why aren't we talking more about her in the public? I mean, you're still this good. It's not, I feel like you could, that's why I was so angry at AGT. I was only watching because Howard Stern was on. And then I was upset, although I saw your tweet after Donald Trump was saying he won the election. You're like, I also won AGT season 9. So, and by the way, your tweets are, I mean, folks, if you want to follow, you should follow Wendy because she's just as funny. Her material on Twitter is just as good. I mean, it's so good. And
I just listen to what my husband says in his sleep, and then I write it all down. He's actually the funnier one, but he's very shy. Like he said, he would just go on stage and pee. But he went viral recently. Really? My husband, because he tweeted that he came home from school when he was in kindergarten, and his dad said, "What did you do at school?" And he said, "They gave us the Salk vaccine or the polio vaccine." And my father-in-law said, "You let them give you a shot at school?" And he said, "No, they put it on a sugar cube and we ate that." And my father-in-law went and wrote the song "Spoonful of Sugar Helps the Medicine
Mary
Go
Poppins?
Down." Yeah.
Wait a minute. I knew. That's his. Really? That's amazing.
So my husband inspired that song, "Spoonful of Sugar Helps the Medicine Go Down," Jeffrey Sherman. And he went viral recently, and it was the weirdest experience ever.
Well, then I got a question for your husband, because those guys also.
Wait, this is my podcast.
Well, I meant, I've always had a question on, they did Chitty Chitty Bang Bang too, those guys, right? So my question has always been that somebody got to Dick Van Dyke and clearly told him, "Listen, we're going to put you in the show. Don't you ever do that accent again." And I'd like to know who's the one who got to him, because in that movie, his girlfriend is British, the kids are British, the grandfather's British, but he's just like, how are you? How you doing, everybody? Like, so clearly somebody got to him and said, listen, you listen and you listen good. I would love to know the backstory on that.
It was the guys you owe money to.
That's what it seems. That's in my head. That's what it's like. Now, listen, Van Dyke, we've had just about enough of that crazy accent. Now, as a kid, I thought it was the greatest accent I ever heard. But as I've been growing up, they're still angry. Whenever I go to London, I'm like, we think about Dick Van Dyke and Mary Poppins. They get so angry.
He makes fun of it, though.
I know he does, and that's what makes him the best person.
He's my hall pass. Like, I've told my husband has said it's okay if I want to sleep with him.
Well, first of all, he still looks amazing in his 90s. He's still spry. He's a living legend. He's probably the reason we both got into comedy, for sure, in the Dick Van Dyke Show, and let alone just his greatness, his prowess, even the way he moves and sings. Everything about him is amazing.
You should get a room.
Hey, I think he'd be my hall pass too. You know what I mean? But the best part, at least that's your hall pass. My sister says Richard Dreyfuss, like now.
Really?
Yeah, she doesn't care. And I'm like, well, I could see maybe in the 70s. She's like, no, even now. And my brother-in-law was like, okay. Have a good time with that. Right? But yeah, Dick Van Dyke. I mean, he's boy, wow, that's amazing. Your husband's dad was still alive when you were. Is he still alive now? He's not.
He died in 2014.
Oh wow, boy! Everybody who worked on the Mary Poppins had a nice long longevity.
I think 14. My uncle-in-law is still alive. Richard Sherman.
And they wrote all those Mary Poppins songs, huh? Or a lot of them. They
wrote Feed the Birds. They also
I hate
wrote
that one. It's so sad. Toppins.
You hate that song?
Yeah, I don't. Is that the Toppins one?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's too sad.
And they also sang. Wrote "It's a Small World."
Oh my God, everybody hates that song. Now, I mean, when you're on the ride, I mean, but it's you're talking about three songs I could sing off the top of my head now because everybody knows them. It's one thing to be sick of them, but yeah.
They wrote a lot of songs for like, I'm blanking on her name.
Still
the
legendary.
Musketeer.
Annette
Funicello. Yeah.
For those beach blanket movies?
They wrote Pineapple Princess and Tall Paul.
Were they the guys depicted in the movie with Tom Hanks?
They were.
Oh, that's amazing.
They were. So my father-in-law was played by B.J. Novak.
Oh yeah, I know, because I just had. Isn't it? No, I know that's the guy from The Office, right? I keep thinking that there's another BJ that was friends with Scott Aukerman, who I don't think is the same guy from the Fun Bunch. It's a different guy.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
And then my uncle-in-law, Richard Sherman, was portrayed by Schwartzman.
Jason Schwartzman.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that cool? It's like Carl Bernstein has been portrayed by Dustin Hoffman and Jack Nicholson in one lifetime. It's pretty impressive.
Hey, I've been done by Amy Schumer. Honestly, I think she is freaking hilarious.
Sure, no, absolutely. It's just that, but when you're at home and you decide to do this thing, and then you're seeing somebody, it's got to be tough. It's got to be a little bit tough. But in this day and age, it's easy to kind of make your case. I'm like, well, I did this first, and I saw it on YouTube. The comparison.
I thought it was so funny. Somebody said they must have paid her $100,000 to shut up. I was like, where?
That's what it seemed like in a way.
Where's my check?
But that's why I thought you did AGT, and I was so heavily rooting. I'm just such a big fan, and I just wanted everything you to get what you deserved. And I've always thought, I'm surprised you didn't. And let me ask you, in the 90s, when you were, you were on Comic Relief, you were obviously, a regular you were on Larry Sanders, which of course for me, I'm, planning a Larry Sanders podcast, so you'll have to come on that particular episode, obviously. And, I've been talking to Wayne Fetterman about doing it maybe together and stuff. And, that's for that for me, that's the end all. If you're on Larry Sanders, you really won the prize. I mean, the Carson show is awesome, but Larry Sanders was the greatest. So that's how high up you were on the chart. I mean, if you're on that, he's only getting the best of the best. So did you ever have a point where you were asked to do a sitcom or write your own show?
Yes.
That's usually the pinnacle.
And I actually had a show for a little while, but they recast me.
Is that true? Was it called Wendy and then they recast you?
Yeah.
Shut up.
No.
Okay, because this is what I thought I remembered, unless you're kidding. I could have sworn you had a show. But am I mistaken? I thought that you had one and then I couldn't find any information about it.
It was in your mind.
Is that true?
It was in your mind, Dave.
Oh.
I had a deal to do a show, but then they replaced me. But
what was the show that they replaced you in? Did it go to series?
No, it was never shot.
Oh, I see. Okay, gotcha.
But I am so spiritual because the material thing didn't work out. But I'm very spiritual, and I am not bitter. And I believe that everything.
What kind of comic are you?
Happens for a reason, even getting hit by a car.
Yeah, you're the worst comic I've ever seen. You're supposed to be bitter, angry, and vengeful. Seriously, no offense, Wendy, but this is ridiculous.
I know.
You know the way it works in comedy.
Maybe
you're
I
jealous
would be
of everybody.
Be
that's
jealous
why you're
of
such
everybody.
a nice person. That's what you're supposed to be.
Maybe that's why I didn't get a sitcom.
Clearly.
I feel like it worked out the way it was supposed to work out. And also, you know how there are child actors?
Of course. We hate them.
I think I'm an actress in her 60s. I'm going to be 60 in February.
Really?
So I think I'm going to be an actress in my 60s. Yes.
Oh, well, good. I mean, really, anything you do is fine with me. I really,
it would be funny. It would be funny.
How is that funny?
No, I'm saying it would be funny if I did something. Like anything.
How is that funny?
Like what I do will be funny.
I would like to see that. Oh, anything you do will be funny. Okay.
I don't mean anything, but if I do something, it'll be funny.
But it's weird. It's like you said the part and they recast it, which doesn't make any sense because you had everything you need to, you had the material, you had the looks, you had the boot, the press, the publicity. I mean, it's
my hair wasn't long enough.
Yes, it was by then. Wasn't it by the middle 90s? Yeah. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. But that's the thing. That's what makes me upset, I think, and which is why I wanted to just tell you how upsetting it is to me. I think, you're so ahead of the game. They just weren't putting together shows for, I'm just going to say it, for attractive comedians at the time. It was a different time, I think. In fact, when I think of Caroline Rhea, she was a little after you. And, I remember they were really trying to get her something, but they were trying to get her a regular show. As I saw for you, it would be something in my mind that you would write yourself and you would be in and play yourself. With her, they were trying to just get her in. I remember they were just trying and trying and trying until she hit Sabrina, which you would never have seen her, doing something like that, but that's just as an actress.
She was great she replaced Rosie. She was doing a talk show, Caroline, the Caroline Rhea show.
Yes, she replaced Rosie O'Donnell. You're saying after Rosie left. Yes. Yeah. Well, that was way later though, too. I mean, wasn't that after Sabrina?
I mean, I'm just saying how great she is.
Oh yeah, no,
she's singing her praises.
Oh yeah,
because I'm a singer.
Well, no, she's wonderful too. It's just, but it's like you were also very beloved in the business. Obviously, we talked about, you're friends with Jonathan Katz. You were on Dr. Katz multiple times, and when you're on, especially Letterman, if you're on multiple times, and he hates comics, and clearly, really, Eddie Brill said it, but he does hate women comics, and yet you were on multiple times. It's obvious, he obviously liked you. It's a big deal.
Enough about me.
But this whole pocket's about you. I knew you wouldn't be able to take it.
It was about my husband.
Well, your husband's your husband's a writer, right?
Yes. He
Um,
wrote on Boy Meets World.
it was one of my favorite shows. I was going to name my kid Topanga,
Really?
but I don't have a kid.
He came up with that name.
No way. Really?
Yeah.
That's one of the most legendary names in television. Everybody, I remember when it first came out. Everybody, wait, what's that girl's name again? It's like a city.
Topanga.
Yeah, she was
because
really
they were
cute.
throwing out names of like hippies and.
Did he have anything to do with Girl Meets World? Because I actually watched that show too.
He didn't, except that we know the
Embarrassing for
people
me.
who. What about it?
It was embarrassing for me that I was watching that show.
Oh.
I don't have any kids, so it's a little awkward. I like those little shows that on Disney and Nickelodeon.
I know. I
wanna
like
be on them.
SpongeBob.
Yeah. Well, I auditioned for iCarly once, and the casting director, I have the picture on my phone, had a picture of all the people she knew she had to call if she had a part for them, and it's me and 3 9-year-olds, in the photo. And the picture's like, "What's up?" But yeah, I like because those are the old-fashioned sitcoms that I used to like, which they don't really have anymore, which is why I like The Big Bang Theory. That was very kind of an old-fashioned, but a lot of people don't like it. I think that's a great show.
Oh,
I watch all
great.
those shows. I like Mom.
I like what I've seen of it.
Yeah. Well, I watch them late at night at like 12:30 or 1 o'clock in the morning on channel 11. I mean, that's I guess, so I like to watch them in syndication. I like Two Broke Girls too. And I always feel like, Whitney Cummings reminds me of you in many ways.
I just finished New Girl.
Wasn't that great?
So great. So Whitney and I were going to do a show. This is before she was known, called Roadkill. And it was the two of us going on the road. It was a reality show, the veteran and the newbie, right?
Yeah.
And so then she sold Whitney and Two Broke Girls, and so she dropped out. So who did we get to replace her? Was Tiffany Haddish.
Oh, well,
So
that's
I'm
hilarious.
not bitter.
To replace you.
No, to replace Whitney.
What's wrong with Tiffany Haddish?
Nothing. Just
You're talking about you and Tiffany Haddish going on the road together.
that was we
That
were
sounds
yeah
better
we
at
were.
this point.
Well, this was before. This was like 15
okay.
years ago.
Oh, because now that would be a better deal. Well, I still
Just
say
before both of them were famous.
I see.
They were going to
Isn't
be
that
the
funny?
newbies, and I was going to be the veteran.
Yeah.
But I'm not bitter.
No, you're very spiritual. Well, I don't know. See, I'd still like to see you do something. That's why I was so happy again when you were on AGT. You were still killing it. You still had the material. I mean, that was the thing. I remember I was just sitting by myself and I remember going, man, she still got it. And it made me so happy. And it was clearly Howard got it. Heidi's not supposed to get anybody that's Jewish because she's fucking Nazi. Like it's not even her fault. I mean, and that was the worst when she, my friend Dan Natterman was on the show. She didn't understand him. And Howard's like, this guy's incredible. And of course, who were the comics that they have on, that got far? Tom Cotter, who's a buddy, but I mean, the whitest guy anyone's ever seen. And that other idiot, that was really white that I don't remember his name. And I just can't stand him. Like
Taylor.
Yeah. Oh my God. Right. And he was like flirting with Heidi. So that's how we got, far and everything. And he's awful. And I don't mind saying it. I'm sorry. But
I think he's hilarious.
Okay. We'll
Is this our first fight?
maybe. But yeah, I mean, it's just funny. You don't have a chance in front of Heidi if you're doing the kind of, if you're doing anything funny that's not in German, you're not going to win. But thank God Howard loved you. He loved you, which made me so happy. And he seemed to get that. He seemed to know who you were too, like from, the past.
Well, I think I did the show also because it wasn't even that I wanted to meet Howard. It was that I wanted to introduce my husband to Howard because I thought they would hit it off.
And did you?
I didn't even get to meet him.
Oh, bummer.
So it's like the magic of TV. They made it seem like he called me.
Yeah, well, you're right. You're right. Do you know Joe Matarese?
Oh yeah.
You saw what they did to him on that show. It kind of ruined him almost. Like they made him this villain. They played evil music behind him. It was The editing was
I know,
awful. I'm
because
sure he
I
didn't
was
do that
there
bad.
with him the whole time.
Oh, that was the same season? Oh my. Oh, that poor kid. I mean, it's
He's
funny that
great.
I'm just glad they did it to him and not somebody who couldn't take it, I mean, he can I mean, he's bitter and angry about it, which of course I love.
Moody McCarthy was on that show too with us.
Right. Right. Who won that year? Or who won?
A guy named Matt Franco. And
Oh, the
he's a
magician.
magician,
Oh,
and
he was actually terrific.
He's phenomenal.
But who was the comedian? Did he perform against the comic?
No. He performed against a singer named Emily West.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
She
She
was
did that
also
Chandelier
amazing.
one. She did that
Yes.
Chandelier song. I totally
still
remember
can
that.
hear Chandelier.
Me
in my
too. Yeah,
head.
she was terrific. Yeah, that's true. But
I haven't watched the show since
once Howard left, I stopped watching.
Yeah.
And I felt bad because my friend Sam Morrell was on the show once, but I couldn't invest anymore. It was just
Who was on that show was Melissa Vivian.
Was she? I didn't know that.
Years ago.
She's like you, very kind, polite person. Something I don't know why you wouldn't expect that, but maybe it's because of since we don't know each other and the jokes you tell and being from Long Island, I guess, and it's just like maybe I just didn't expect you to be such a nice, kind person. I don't know why your material is so,
Mean?
a little bit, And Melissa is so, I mean, her imitations are so phenomenal. I don't know, but I've met her a couple of times. And again, if you lived in New York, I do these shows at the Cellar all the time. I would have you on all the time. And Melissa's done the shows. And boy, is she something else, huh? Those imitations are. She doesn't even get.
Also sing though. I heard her sing once, and she's phenomenal.
I've heard that too. And when she sings, sometimes as a character as well, which is amazing.
Right? She did Dolly Parton on SNL recently,
and that's
I'm talking about her own voice.
Well, that's the thing with SNLs; they don't even use her to her greatest ability. It's very odd. Yeah. They seem to like her as a person, but
Were you ever on SNL?
No, I auditioned in 1996 and lost out. I knew they were hiring a black guy. I knew they were looking for a black guy because the auditions were at the comic strip. And I know you can attest to this for this not being a prejudice thing. The lineup that day was white, black, white, black, white, black. And it was, it was never like that. It was always white, 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 black, white, 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 black. And I knew they were looking for, and Tracy Morgan was the one they found that year or whatever year that, I think it was 96, 97. So major bummer, but it's all right. But you know what I'm talking about with that lineup. It was always, it's well, you know what? I don't even know whether it is different now. And of course, those, comedy was really the only interaction I really had with any black people. I didn't have black friends except in comedy, and they, became good. So I didn't really.
Well, comedy is your job, so you have friends at your job.
Yeah, it's funny because I actually had a regular job for 20 years, so that's where I also knew black people. Like, I mean, I just always felt bad, like I was doing something wrong. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't meet a lot of black people.
What was your job?
I worked at a law firm for 20 years. I just got fired last May. I got Me Too'd.
Really?
Nobody seems to. I tried to kiss the receptionist at the office. My listeners know the entire
Is this
story.
real?
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely real.
You tried to kiss her
on a date outside the office. She kept begging me to take her out. She's like, when are you going to take me out? When are you going to take me? Every day I'd walk in. When are you going to take me out? When are we going out? Are we going out for dinner? I can come to your house. We can get high at your house. Let's do that. So there was no reason not to believe, even though she was much younger, that she didn't like me. But I have been told by my friends that still work there that I was set up somehow. So I guess I'll fall for it every time. Ladies, I will fall for it every time. Just so you know.
So she was a receptionist who was giving you mixed messages.
Oh, those weren't mixed. They were. I mean, they were. I mean, everybody in the firm would come up and be like, "You better be careful with her," because it was very clear that she liked me.
So you were working for a lawyer? Couldn't you sue her?
No, not the way I left.
This story is juicy.
Oh, it's juicy. All right. It's good. I've told most of the story on the podcast. Everybody knows. In fact, Rachel Feinstein last night was talking to, she was telling everybody the story. Sam Morrell's been doing a bunch of shows around. He found some outdoor venues and he's been jonesing to do comedy and he can't wait. So a lot of people are finding some outdoor venues to work at, which is hard in New York City. So him and Phil Hanley and Rachel were out last night. She called me last night. She goes, we were telling you the story of when you got fired, because it's everybody's favorite story, let alone at the Christmas party several years ago where the HR director tried to kill me at the office Christmas party. She choked me and broke a blood vessel in my eye. Now that's the most legendary story of all. It's the HR lady. It's a classic. I could tell you later.
That's a lawsuit.
Oh, absolutely. They should be lucky I didn't sue them, except that it's probably half my. No, I'm just kidding.
What? I scared you?
I know whenever a girl takes off, I'm always doing in the 80s comedy, like, whoa. My mother does it. I do it. I can't. It's like Tourette's. I can't help myself.
That was the funniest moment just then.
You thought the internet had paused. I was just.
I thought you were frozen.
I know. I try and do that too. Check out this.
Oh, that's good. That's really good.
I really try hard at it. I practice when I'm alone, which is even more
scary.
awkward. I record it and then I practice it. Anyway.
Are you single?
Yes. Duh.
Well, you were saying something.
Oh, I was just talking nonsense, but basically, no. I just, you went. I know you went to Harvard Medical School for a little bit.
No.
Oh.
I worked there.
Oh, you worked there.
Oh, so you were telling me about working at the law firm. So you weren't a lawyer.
No, I was a what was it called? A document work. I don't know. I was a manager after a while. I mean, they gave me my own office and everything, and I wasn't a lawyer. They loved me there, even all the hijinks that I got into. They were very kind to me until the end. And then I was very angry that they took this girl's.
So do you miss having a job?
No, I don't. I never did. I worked for, that's the thing. I worked for 20 years there and 10 years at another firm, and doing comedy all in between, because I was never fully in on stand-up, which is why you never heard of me before. But so I worked 30 years straight and then I'm off, and I'm like, well, isn't that what's supposed to happen? Aren't you supposed to retire, after 30 years on the job? Like, why can't that be my last job? Why? I would like to get Social Security now. I'm done. I worked 30 years every day for 30 years. And it is brilliant not working. I mean, if I could pull this off where I can keep doing it, it's very difficult because I'm not making any money. And then so I quit this job, or I got fired. And then I finally got back into stand-up and like full in, and I was making money. I was opening for Jim Gaffigan over the summer and everything. This was easy this summer, but it was working. And then the pandemic happened. So, to ask somebody my age to come up with a third plan, that's not fair. The second plan after the 30 years of working was working. It's going to be difficult.
Well, the commencement speaker at one of my stepson's graduations from college was a guy named Ernest
Borgnine? What? Ernest who?
Moritz. He's like the nuclear guy for Obama. Like he did good. The arms deals with Iran.
The one that Trump hates? You love Trump, right? No, I'm looking at your tweets. They're hilarious.
No, he lost me when he imitated the disabled person, and after that, I haven't been able to listen to another thing that he said.
You're amazing that you even said he lost you. I was not all in on him, but I wasn't a hater until this election stuff happened, and now I am just livid because I have friends on both sides. I like it's 50-50 for me. My comedy friends hate that I even stomach a conversation about it, but
no, we know people,
right?
Who are
and
supporters.
I just until this once the election, it's over. I'm like, it's over, and then once this happened, so upset, as is everybody. I just really changed my tune. I know it's a little late.
Well, good. That's good. Hey, better late than never. Hey,
Yeah.
so Ernest Moritz, who was like some big smart person, he was the commencement speaker at my stepson's graduation, and he said, people don't have to pick like one thing to do in their life. People can have 4 careers.
I know, but it's very difficult at a certain age sometimes to come up with your next plan. You know, I mean, I'm just saying, I agree with you 100%. Of course, you can change it anytime, but I had already done that. You know, I'd made this big transformation, and in March of 2020, it was working. March was going to be the month where I was actually going to make more than I was at the office after all this time. And then everything shut down.
Well, we have to pivot in this. I'm just throwing words out there. But after 9/11, I thought, I don't want to do stand-up anymore because I didn't want to travel. So I thought, I'm going to be the funniest kindergarten teacher.
Is that what you did? You started teaching kindergarten?
No, but I thought, oh, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be the funniest kindergarten teacher.
Well, see, I became the funniest guy at my office. That's not really saying that.
Yeah. I mean, I was never the class clown. I was always the teacher's pet who wanted to be the class clown.
Yeah. Well, I was the class clown. And
Were
Gilbert
you?
Gottfried actually said, not to me, he said, don't you always realize that the class clown always becomes the funniest guy at the office? I mean, I couldn't even believe it when he said it. I'm like, oh my God, that is exactly what happened to me. I was completely voted class. They called it class wit, thank God. So my dad didn't hate it that much. But because class clown was just I told you, you're never going to amount to anything. Well, he was kind of right. But yeah, class wit seemed a little better. But yeah, I won. And then I ended up as the funniest guy in my office. I think that's what happens to class clowns. I don't think anybody we know in comedy actually was the actual class clown. Like even some of my, David Tell, who we've known since 1987, he was probably the quietest kid in high school. I don't think he ever spoke up. I don't think anybody thought he was funny. Meanwhile, he was the funniest guy I ever met the first day I met him. We would just have lunch together, and he was funny in the unfunny way.
My favorite day in show business ever was, and he would think this is hilarious because he's probably shot 100 or 1,000 of these, but we shot some commercials, David Tell and I, for HBO, and they shot them in, I think it was Palmdale. We went out to the desert, and the series was supposed to be for us driving across country together. Like he's chain smoking.
How do you always have a series like that? But go on.
Say that again?
You always seem to have a series where you're driving across country with somebody. It's a comic. It's I don't know why they choose you for that particular.
They're trying to get me out of here. No. So yeah, so we shot like 8 commercials. It was for the Aspen Comedy Festival. And to this day, that was my favorite day in show business. I had so much fun.
Really? I would have been
I got to work with David Tell.
That would have been a nightmare for me. We're best friends, and it's just a nightmare sometimes.
You are best friends? Now I'm cold.
Yeah, what kind of house are you living in like that?
I know.
Windows open, or don't you live in LA?
I do.
Oh, it never gets cold there.
It's cold in my house, but then I got hot talking to you.
It happened.
Now I'm cold again. What?
I'm not responding to that in any weird way. Anyway, Wendy, I just thank you so much.
Wait, I gotta fix my hair.
You look perfect.
Okay.
You really do have a great style about you, and it's funny when you see a lot of your shows that you've done in the past. I mean, that's my favorite thing. You dress up. You had respect for all the shows you were on. You dress up, and you sometimes see people come on, and they're just like, "That's what you're gonna wear on TV." Because I can hear my mother saying that, so it makes me upset. But you always looked good. Of course, that was your character as well in a way. So, but it was good. But you're such a terrific comic still to this day. A lot of people. So when the Cellar has been closed, all this time during the pandemic, but they opened for a little bit. at the Olive Tree, they opened up and were having some, you could have dinner with the comics, and they would just do some shows at your table. It was awful. But me and my friend Russ Mooney were watching Attell one day, and I mean, obviously I've known this guy for a long time, and he's just, we're all almost 60, and the guy is still churning out the gags. I mean, he just doesn't. It's amazing. And I remember he's one of those guys like you where, God, I got to remember that. I got to remember to tell my sister that joke, and I can't keep up because he keeps coming. The only one I remember is he's like, how come nobody ever eats owl? Like, does it taste like a chicken that reads? And it's like, that's the one I decided I'm going to remember. I put it on. I'm like, I don't remember. But I'm sitting there. I'm like, the guy's almost sick. And you see a lot of our heroes where when they reach a certain age, then, but you and him both, I mean, he's still churning out the really funny, awesome material. It's amazing. Your mind doesn't stop. That's why it's funny that and now is a weird time, but it's like you have to continue doing it because you have so much to offer. And I hate that you're not, doing it completely full-time, all in. And I need you to go back to do it.
Okay.
I'm sorry. You're one of my favorite comics. It's like, it's
all
just
right.
Well, that's why I wanted you on. It was a pep talk.
Oh my God, I didn't need therapy this week.
No, I know. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, I mean, you're making my head so big. I'm gonna have to get another bed.
Well,
so
it's just funny, like
fit.
when we were all like around that 95, 96 time, I guess that's when, things were going okay and we were just trying to make it and everything. And you were already at this, place. We would always just talk about you all the time, like, and she's terrific. And
it's so weird because I don't feel
you
like
didn't feel that way. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not funny. Right. I know.
And
yeah, people don't have perceptions of themselves like that.
I guess not. So, well, let's live in the now and try to get me a show now.
Well, it's funny too, because we're like close in age, just the way like we are, like Colin Quinn was Dave's hero, but yet, there's only a 3 or 4 year difference, but it's kind of funny that, we had these people were just that far above, even just they were all around the same age. And yet, you just, I don't know.
Well, it's like my sister's 2 years older. And if you had told me years ago that she would be friends with people younger than I am, and I would be friends with people older than she was, it's like time change, like that doesn't mean anything anymore. I have
for me, it does. That's all I think about.
Older friends.
Yeah, well, that's what I tell my mother. She gets so angry that, because I'm friends with a lot of young people, a lot of young girls. People get very upset about that. But I'm friends with people of all ages. So my mother gets upset sometimes because sometimes I hang out with people who are in their 80s. They live in my building, they live in the neighborhood, and we go out to dinner. And she goes, I don't understand. I'm like, I'm friends with everybody of all ages. It's not just, I don't want to, but nobody wants to hang out with their mom.
Don't kiss them.
No, I don't. Although there's one that's not a bad look. But yeah, no, I just try and hang out with people I don't care if they're cool, then they're cool, right? That's the way I like to live.
I just want to be cool. I mean, yeah.
You are cool.
I still just want to be cool. That's the only thing I want to
Well,
be.
I think you're way cool. And if you I know you're on cameo.com. Yeah.
I am, but they stopped sending me notices. So now I have a bunch of cameos that expired and people are going to hate me. But yes, I will do a cameo for somebody's birthday or
well, again, hey. Thank you so much for coming on the show. If you you got to see Wendy's Twitter account, follow her tweets. I mean, that is what you're going to get. Is the best material. Where they even wrote one down that I really liked is like, I used to deliver singing telegrams, but I can only sing in the shower. That made me laugh out loud. 23andMe said I had 4 outstanding parking tickets in Boston. I love that material. I mean, these are the
I'm laughing at my own joke.
Well,
that's
they're great.
Pathetic.
So I just wanted my listeners to know how terrific you are and to meet you, I guess. If they don't know you, I think they do because they know comedy. And just thank you so much for doing it.
Have me on again. I'll have some new jokes.
Well, I'd like you to come on the Comedy Cellar one too. I do Tuesdays at 7, so please come on that show again. It's only a half hour now, 4 o'clock your time. because I would have you on every show I'll ever do because I think you're terrific. I'm just glad we're friendly now. This is what I do when I'm friends with somebody. I like to use them all the time. Not use them, but you know what I mean.
I'm in your stable.
Right. You're now a Dave Juskow regular, which could be considered good or bad. You never know. Or maybe if after a while it just gets annoying, who knows? But I just think you're really talented and wonderful. And thank you so much for coming on the show and answering all these questions, these crazy questions that I had and my theories. And I really appreciate it. And thank you for your manager for putting us together, which is weird. Is it strange? Now there's the road show, Liebman and Lieberman. That's the road.
No, Jody Lieberman is my manager. It's very confusing.
It is. Sometimes I want to, even though I know your name, because I know you way before I know her, even though we've known each other for quite a while. I want to call you Wendy Lieberman sometimes because I'm thinking of Jody.
It's all good.
Right.
It's all fine.
That's the road show. Liebman and Lieberman together again. But Wendy, thank you so much for doing the show.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Yes, and Happy New Year, and I will talk to you soon.
Today, I got a massage. Don't you love getting a massage from the bellhop? I love that. I got a massage because I tried to do yoga and I got in so much pain. I did yoga because my friend Bobby said when you do yoga, you reach a higher level of consciousness. It's a lot easier just to drink and then get your leg behind your neck like that. Trust me, I know. I'm in so much pain. Is there a doctor in the house? My mother wants me to marry you. Then So I got the massage, and this woman really hurt me. I said, what are you doing? She goes, I'm attacking your pressure points, right? So I gave her my parents' address. And a tip, because they want me to get married. My dad really wants me to get married because he wants me to stop using his name. Wendy. And at this point, he thinks I'm Ellen. You know, Ellen. Yeah. I mean, I like Ellen and I watch her show in the closet with my girlfriend, but I'm not. No, I'm not a lesbian, but I practice just in case. I swear, Actually, my love life is like a fairy tale. It's grim. I want a sensitive guy. I want a guy who will cry when I hit him. I want no, I'd never hit a man if you're awake. Actually, younger guys have been approaching me lately, and asking me to buy them alcohol, and I feel